Hey everyone, how you guys doing today? Let's just dive into it. And as you guys might see, my code is hella cleaner. Hella cleaner. So yeah, we'll just get right into it. I'm actually gonna pull this up on GitHub and just go commit by commit from where it was last time. I kind of remember. I mean, I rewatched the video, but I don't know which commit it was specifically, so we're gonna figure that out. Here's the thingy. Yes, I think I added this to do while recording, where I wanted to just move some of the info that I had in the PyProject tunnel. I'm like, okay, this is irritating. It doesn't need to be here. Let's just move it into the README, because like it's only someone who would go in to edit the PyProject toml who would notice this, but most devs won't have to really touch the PyProject toml. So this is information that I think is actually good to have here. And then there's a couple of places in the code where I'm gonna move my dude over here. And there's a couple of places in the code where I do something like no QA colon some specific warning or something like that. And in those places, I made sure to like add those comments just to have that clarity right there next to the code. Something that didn't warrant like global reading, but for whoever's working on it can be like, okay, that's why, right? Especially if they decide to check in on the thing. I feel like that's appropriate. Okay. So moving on, where do I check my commits again? Oh, it's right there. I'm blind. I'm like, I know it's here somewhere. Add env vars reading mechanism. I think this might be what I showed you guys. Okay, so that adds the app logging. Pydantic, import Pydantic settings. Oh no, this is when I figured it out. This is much further. Oh Jesus Christ, I made several small commits recently. I mean, that kind of makes sense. I was like, just like once I figured that out, I was on a roll. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. Just kind of cleared out all my to-dos. Now I have only one left that I'm gonna try and do in this video, or maybe I'll do it in the next video. I'm not really sure because it's pretty late and I am gonna go pick up my wife from in-laws. So I need to be up somewhat reasonably, and it's already super late, so that's not good. Commented out code for setting up Logger. Added and amended to-dos. Is this the one? And just moved around some to-dos, did nothing really here. Dated exception formats. It has to be one of the ones from yesterday, unless my sensation of time has slipped. It's one of these ones. So, okay, yeah, okay, we'll just start from here and go each commit from here. Yeah, so the main thing in this one was I had like an env vars mechanism, but this is before I discovered that I could do this with Pydantic settings. And then I removed this line just altogether because we were starting to pass it in through the, what's it called it? UV launcher, which it definitely is much better than the FastAPI. I don't know why the FastAPI, like if I'm just closing and starting it again, it just gets obnoxious. And set level config. This I left alone, but I basically Oh, I removed set 11. Anyways, basically, I just commented out, cleared out the logging stuff. Um, and I had just commented out this env vars mechanism that I had. So, okay, dismiss. I don't know what that was about. I just didn't want to read that right now. Um, let's see. Okay, moving on from commented out code. Added Pydantic settings for I think this is actually exactly where I was earlier. So I had main JSON formatter. I'd moved JSON formatter to app logging, which I had to update in the YAML as well. Imported Pydantic settings, set it up. Oh, okay. I'd already figured it out. That's, I guess, whatever I did in the video, I actually never committed. Okay, so I'll just get right into it. So, in the video, I was struggling to get the info out, and what I realized is basically, this exception type has dot errors, which I'm presuming is just a type from basic exceptions, from base exceptions or something like that, and just lists out all the errors and issues. And what's really nice about it is because I already had it configured in my logger at the root, and I passed my logging at startup, and the UV-Corn startup happens kind of before this. So my logger was already set up and ready to go. And so I could pass, because my logger, my handlers, my formatter for the handler that root logger has, which all of them inherit from, because everyone is set to propagate basically, except for UV-Corn access, which I've essentially silenced. I can just pass metadata and pass this whole thing in, and it just worked like a charm in logging logger critical message extra, and I was ready to go. That was enough, right? That basically gave me a really nice printout and everything, even colorized it for me. And I don't know what this is about. Oh, this is me removing the JSON formatter from main. I guess it was. I thought I already created the new file. I don't remember. But, and also I'd installed Pydantic settings, so that updated in PyProject Hummel, or added it to the main dependency group. Added env vars reading mechanism. So this is where I've finalized it, I think. What? Add Pydantic settings. Okay, so I actually had this figured out here then. Okay. Okay, yeah. I remember what the issue was. So basically, from here to here, what I did was, so because this is imported from Pydantic like reads the environment variables in a case insensitive way, and so you can just write it in snake case and have it be like all Pythonic that way. But it still reads environment variables in capitals, which is the general standard for writing it. And what was happening is in the print message, which I'll just show you in a moment, it essentially had, what's the word I'm looking for? It was lowercasing the environment variable names, and the one thing that was triggering me is like, if someone else sees this, they'll think that's how you define the environment variable if they don't already know the standards around environment variables. So I'm like, okay, I just want to fix that and upper key it. So I did it where I just went through each for and errors, set up errors separately, iterated through it, and created this. Now, as you'll notice, is a theme with typing is that things can get a little bit wordier than needed sometimes, but I still think it's good practice. So basically, my initial thing was a list comprehension with literally a list, and it was just key.upper for key and lock. So lock short is usually just short for location, and that's where the conflicts are. And those are essentially the environment variables you need to set. um, and the message environment variable is not set or set inappropriately, details and metadata, like that should be more than enough for someone to figure out that that's what's going on with that. I just really wanted to make sure that that was uppercase. Uh, and this one was like kind of stupid, but also kind of important because actually, when other devs do come on this, it will make it easier. And this one's much more important compared to like the coloring and some of the other stuff that I did, which I feel at some point I'm just actually going to have to switch off, but not while I'm doing active development. Because during active development, it's going to be great for me because it's just going to be like visually easy for me to do things. But I think in prod, it'll have to be a simpler logging thing so it's compatible with more of a logging capture tool. Um, uh, and then I just give both. I give the message and the metadata to log includer critical with the message and extra equals MD, and boom, you're done. So I did it with message because Rough complains about that. I know it does, so I just did it like that, and it's actually nice because this way I can, if I want to make this message itself like more flexible and give it like even more detail just in that message directly, I can turn it into an F string really quickly without the code looking hairier and stuff. So I mostly abide by Rough's predictions. And that's tuple string because essentially when I just did key upper for key and E lock as a list, um, it was incompatible with the actual type of this thing, which was tuple string tuple stringer integer. So I forcibly stated it as like that, right? um and it gave me beautiful things, and after that I did a few small things that don't actually really reflect in the code, so I'll just showcase what this looks like to you guys. So as you guys can see, I have removed dev env file. So temporarily, for the sake of this showcase, I'm just gonna add it back in. Where's my code? I'm just gonna move my code over here. Dev env file int. So I'm just gonna launch it like that, and now it's just boom, right away. It just crashes out, and you can see it's a beautiful little message, all colorized. It's critical. It's just, it's exactly what I needed, right? And like for people like for further devs who might be using it, like actually going and getting more exposed to Pydantic by actually checking out this exception specifically, and maybe going down a rabbit hole and understanding a little bit better about how Pydantic works. This is a nice little detail. It's just part of the basic exception. I just reused it essentially in a very specific way that gets translated to nice looking JSON. So that's essentially what I did, and then the next few are just smallish commits. Added env bars reading, added use of logging level directly on root. So yeah, this one was very simple. Basically, as I read in my environment variables, I right after that, I'm just setting the level on root to whatever the logging level is that's read in from the environment variable, so that we don't have so that like it mimics what is actually passed to it, just have that granular. And maybe like if this grows into like something that like needs to instantiate a lot of environment variables, I might do that differently. And I might also probably set up an LRU. Actually, I might just set up an LRU cache anyways. Yeah, I think I might just set up an LRU cache anyways and just make sure that it's always just processed once whenever it's first called, and I'll just first call it right away. Just to get the logging level set or whatever other environment variables, and then as my environment variables add, I don't have to think about like, oh, I need to add an LRU cache. So that's actually my current to do, which I may or may not do at the end of this video based on how long it is, and I really need to go to bed and stuff. moving on to the next one, remove dev env file using uvicorn env file instead. Yeah, so that one's pretty simple. I just cleared this out and associated to do because it's just like it was a completely unnecessary thing once I started using uvicorn, because that just gives whoever uses it, if you're using it directly through uvicorn, um, it's just A, it's faster on startup. B, it's like it's just easier to just have that there, and you still need .env as a what's the word I'm looking for? .env. You still need python.env as your dev dependency, and it's because uvicorn still needs it. So I did not remove .env as a dev dependency, which is something I think we talked about that in a video or two before. I might be repeating information. Moving on to the next one, remove to do from YAML. Which ones did I remove? I don't even remember. Add env vars. Oh yeah, because I was thinking at one point like, oh, I should have all my variables in the YAML, and then I'll pass the YAML to the this thing. I'm like, wait, no, we're not going to do it that way. Plus, we can't do it that way because that's not how the env vars or a file is read by uvicorn, because it reads it the way load.env reads it. So that was just kind of part of this one. I'm just going to remove that. Makes no sense, really. I'm just going to move to the next one. So here I made some changes. Remember how we had discussed like the things I was going to ignore, and I just wanted to like document that in a more specific place. So I just added this to the README. I know this is a very specific thing, but I'm just like, this is something that I know I'll forget later on, so I might as well just do it right now. And I don't want to have it in the PyProject toml. So 100 to 107 docstring non-existent codes. So I'd added a few already, and then I went and looked up all of them. And the D series codes, there's actually quite a few. D100. I'm just going to Google D100 rough and show it to you. There you go. Then if you go to PyDoc style linter, D100, 101 through 107 is some sort of missing docstring. And then after that, it's all stuff about how you format a docstring. So I didn't want to like limit these, because if someone who's deving it wants to add the docstring right away, great. But I feel like before you do a major PR or something like that, these should be enabled, and you should definitely like make sure all the doc strings are like there, like that is something that's important actually to do. So moving on from I wonder, maybe you could just set up a pre-commit hook that disables all of these. Nah, actually that's just too much. Commit hook, PR hook, I don't know. Can you do a PR hook? I don't know, whatever. I'm just getting distracted. So D100 through 107 is essentially missing docstring, and I just added all of those, and I've stated basically here that once the project reaches maturity, we will do that to make sure that documentation is consistent and always there. TD001 and 2 and fix002, they're both related to the to-do tag, requesting an author, issue link, and just overall consider fixing it instead of just having it be there, right? I use to-dos currently very frequently to log an ID, and I personally think like that's not too bad of an idea to log it in there. I don't think it should be part of like major PRs, but or should be very limited in major PRs. But I think it's okay for like you working on your branch or whatever. PTH123 said this one is not one I ignored. I actually did it, but basically it essentially says to use a path object, which is a more versatile object, but it's also more readable, because path, okay, I open this path, there's a path, and then I open that path. So path.open is slightly more considered more readable than the other way around. Um, so I was just like, I think I agree with that, so I stuck with that. And but it could cause a performance trade-off wherein basically reading, going with open and just adding the string there is slightly faster than path.open, because the issue with path.open is that you have to actually create a path object first, right? So there's a bit of overhead there. So might like actually like tend to that, and actually wherever we see path open versus open, to go and like actually switch that back. Um, what is this? Added more ignores. Yeah, added node to describe why pyrite ignore. Okay, yeah. So I think I must have done a couple more things here and there. Yeah. So ignoring N802 as snake case, impossible here due to inherited function name with format exception. I remember having it to do. Oh, actually, it's here. Update pipe project to ignore for instead of no QA. So I had that thought in my head, and I'm like, you know what? I actually don't want this to be the case, because what if in some other place someone actually names it format exception for a completely different function that's not like logging formatter or whatever. I don't want that to be ignored. I just want to have this particular instance of it ignored, and just like if that's the case, that's fine. Just note it right there. I think notes are fine. um, so here as well, where I do no QA, try 02 and 301, which are basically saying like, hey, just don't raise a generic exception. One of them is saying don't raise a generic exception, and the other one is like, why are you raising within a try block? Which are both good questions, because if you're just generically raising within a try block, it's just going to get caught immediately. So that doesn't make much sense. You're usually doing the try block for code that could raise some sort of error. So some other code needs to raise an error. So yeah. Um, and then handling that exception. Um, yeah, so currently, and this is um, so basically I just added some, like just made things more succinct and removed more to-dos. And the last one was, yeah, this one was super simple as well. So essentially I had a pyrite ignore report call issue, because it was saying like, hey, environment variables needs to be called with this variable, you're not calling it with any, because I had defined variables in there, and they're also required variables. They were not like variables that I had defined default values for. So it was right to ignore me. But I know that base settings works, and it would just like pick it up from the environment, which is exactly what I wanted. And if it doesn't work, like that's why it's within a try block, so I can just like destroy that. So I just wanted to note that right there. Ignoring call issues, environmental variables should never be supplied in code. It's as simple as that. I don't want to ever supply it in code. It should always be reading from um, what's the word I'm looking for? For for like dev purposes or whatever, just use a .env file. Or I don't know, actually completely lost my train of thought because I'm super tired and I am hungry. Spoiler alert. So I'm actually gonna end this video right now. I was gonna do this today of Angler Ucache, but it's honestly really trivial and small. I'm probably not even gonna do it on video. I'm just gonna do it quietly and like move on to the next big thing that I really want to do. Because at this point there's been all the side quests are done now. There's like really nothing remaining, because there were all things that were niggling, and I'm just like, might as well just take care of it right now. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys have a great one. Peace out.